I'm Thomas Miller, a retired military vet. I've always loved the peace and quiet of my ranch. Sitting on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise over the fields, that's my kind of life. After years of service, this land was my sanctuary, a place to be self-sufficient, tend to my horses, work the land. Pure peace. Then, one morning, that peace was shattered. I hear a truck rumbling down the long dirt road to my property. I squint, trying to see who it is. I wasn't expecting anyone. My neighbors usually let me know if they're coming by. Sometimes city folks get lost, but this truck felt different. It was a shiny white pickup with big blue letters, HOA Patrol. I'm thinking, HOA? Here? What the heck? I've heard of HOAs, those suburban neighborhoods with cookie-cutter houses and perfect lawns. But my ranch is miles from any of that. My property is outside city limits, surrounded by privately owned land. I've never been part of an HOA and never wanted to be. The truck stopped at my gate. Two guys got out, wearing matching navy polo shirts with the HOA logo. They looked more like salesmen than anything official. One was tall and skinny, holding a clipboard. The other was shorter and stockier, fiddling with a tablet. I put my coffee down and crossed my arms, waiting. Morning, the tall one called out, walking toward my gate. He didn't seem to notice my less than enthusiastic stance. We're here from the Meadowbrook HOA. We'd like to talk about your property. I raised an eyebrow. Meadowbrook? I'm not part of any Meadowbrook anything. You've got the wrong address. The shorter guy stepped forward. Actually, sir, our records show your property is now under Meadowbrook HOA jurisdiction. We're doing routine inspections to ensure compliance with community standards. I stared at them, dumbfounded. Expanded jurisdiction? What are you talking about? This is private property, not some suburban development. I never agreed to be part of any HOA. The tall guy gave a practiced smile. I understand this may be a surprise, sir, but the HOA recently updated its boundaries. It's all in the paperwork filed with the county. Now, if you don't mind, we'd like to take a look around. My jaw tightened. The nerve of these guys. You're not setting foot on my property. Whatever paperwork you have means nothing to me. This land has been in my name for over a decade. I'm not under anyone's jurisdiction. Now turn around and get off my road. The stocky guy looked at his partner, unsure, but the tall one stood his ground. Sir, I must insist. Noncompliance can result in fines and penalties. We're here to help, not cause trouble. I stepped closer to the gate. Let me make something clear. You're trespassing. If you don't leave right now, I'll call the sheriff. The shorter guy mumbled something, and they finally retreated to their truck. But before leaving, the tall one called out, "You'll be hearing from us, Mr. Miller." This isn't over. I watched them drive away, feeling uneasy. Who were these people? And what did they mean by expanded jurisdiction? I needed answers. I went to my workshop and grabbed a can of paint. That afternoon, I repainted the private property. No trespassing sign on my gate, making the letters nice and bold. If Meadowbrook thought they could bully me, they had another thing coming. The next morning, I sat down with my coffee and laptop, determined to figure out what was going on. I Googled Meadowbrook HOA, and a ton of results popped up. Articles, forum posts, all sorts of complaints. Petty fines for minor stuff, accusations of overreach and mismanagement. Several posts mentioned a boundary expansion. So that's what they meant. But could an HOA really just expand its territory to include private land that was never part of it? That seemed crazy, maybe even illegal. I read more. Apparently, Meadowbrook HOA was trying to expand its influence, claiming it would improve property values. But the process seemed shady. People said they weren't notified, or they got vague letters full of legal jargon. One article called it a land grab disguised as community improvement. I was furious. These people thought they could bully me into compliance to boost their property values? No way. I needed to see what they'd filed with the county. An hour later, I was at the county clerk's office. I told the receptionist, I need to see property records related to Meadowbrook HOA and my land. She looked it up. It looks like there's been an update. Meadowbrook HOA submitted a boundary amendment that includes your land. They've classified it as part of their extended jurisdiction. Extended jurisdiction? I repeated, my voice laced with disbelief. And nobody thought to tell me? She looked sympathetic. I understand your frustration, sir. This has been a common complaint. The county approves these amendments if the HOA provides documentation showing it will benefit the community. But it's not a perfect system. She printed out the filing for me. Thanks, I said. One more question. Can I dispute this? You'd need to talk to a property lawyer, she said. But if the HOA didn't follow the right procedures, or if they violated your rights, you might have a case. Back at the ranch, I spread the documents out on my kitchen table. It was dense with legal mumbo-jumbo, jurisdictional inclusion, community benefit provisions, assessment compliance. I didn't need a law degree to know this was a mess. The HOA claimed the expansion was to protect property values, but there was no real evidence. They listed supposed benefits: road maintenance, shared facilities, security patrols. I scoffed. I didn't need any of that, especially not with the added cost of fines and inspections. One line caught my eye: property owners were notified via certified mail. I never got anything. They were either lying or messed up big time. I knew I couldn't fight this alone. The HOA had lawyers. I needed professional help. I called a local property lawyer I found online. Law Office of Thomas Hansen, a cheerful voice answered. "Hi," I said. "My name's Thomas Miller, and I've got a problem with an HOA trying to claim my property. I need to know if I have a case." "HOA disputes?" she replied. "You've come to the right place." She scheduled a consultation for the next morning. The sooner, the better. The next morning, I was at Thomas Hansen's office. It was a converted house, modest but charming. Inside, the receptionist led me to a waiting area. The walls were covered with case-closed photos of happy clients. It gave me a little hope. "Mr. Miller," a voice called. A middle-aged man in a suit extended his hand. "I'm Thomas Hansen. Let's talk." In his office, I laid out the whole story: the HOA patrol, the expanded jurisdiction, the county documents. Hansen listened carefully, taking notes. When I finished, he looked through the papers. "First off," he said, "you did the right thing not letting them on your property. They can't enter without your permission or a court order. As for this, expanded jurisdiction, HOAs try this kind of thing all the time, but it doesn't always hold up in court." "Can they even do this?" I asked, frustrated. "Technically, yes," Hansen said, "but it depends on the process. They have to notify property owners by certified mail and give them a chance to challenge the amendment. From what you've told me, it sounds like they skipped a few steps." "More like all of them," I muttered. "I never got anything from them." "Good," Hansen said. "That's key. We can use that to challenge them. If they didn't notify you properly, their claim on your property is invalid. But we'll need more evidence." Hansen outlined his plan. "Request all records from the county regarding the boundary expansion, including proof of notification. Send a cease and desist letter to the HOA demanding they back off. And document every interaction with the HOA." "HOAs rely on intimidation," Hansen said. "They figure most people will just give in. But you have a strong case, Thomas. I'm confident we can win this." I felt relieved. "Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate it." Driving home, I replayed the conversation. Hansen seemed confident, but I knew this wouldn't be easy. The HOA wouldn't back down without a fight. The following week, I got a certified letter from Meadowbrook HOA, a formal notice accusing me of not complying with community guidelines because my barn violated their aesthetic standards. It threatened fines and legal action. I couldn't believe it. The audacity. But instead of being scared, I felt determined. They'd just given me more evidence. I called Hansen right away. "They're doubling down," I said. "They're threatening me with fines over my barn." "Perfect," Hansen replied calmly. "Keep that letter. It shows they're trying to enforce rules on a property they don't control. It strengthens our argument." Encouraged, I put up another "no trespassing" sign and installed security cameras. If the HOA patrol came back, I'd be ready. A few days later, the HOA truck returned. I watched from my porch as the same two guys got out. I grabbed my phone and started recording. "You again," I called out. "I told you, you're trespassing. Leave now, or I'm calling the sheriff." The tall guy held up his clipboard. "Mr. Miller, we're here to issue a compliance notice." "I don't care what you're here for," I interrupted. "You have no authority here. Get off my land." The shorter guy looked nervously at the cameras. "Let's go," he muttered, and they retreated to their truck. I sent the video to Hansen. "This is gold," he replied. "It proves they're harassing you. Exactly what we need." Weeks turned into a battle of wills. More letters from the HOA, each one more aggressive. But I held firm. Hansen filed a formal complaint with the county, challenging the boundary amendment and requesting an investigation into the HOA's practices. His team built a strong case, uncovering evidence that the HOA hadn't notified property owners properly and had misrepresented their authority. I was stressed, but I also felt proud. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for everyone who'd been bullied by an HOA. I wouldn't back down. The air was thick with tension as I walked into the county courthouse. I wasn't there for jury duty. I was there to defend my land, my freedom. With every step, my resolve grew stronger. This wasn't a fight I wanted, but I would win. Thomas Hansen met me in the lobby, smiling confidently. "Ready for this?" he asked. "Damn right," I said. "Let's show them they messed with the wrong guy." We went into a conference room for the hearing. The HOA's lawyer and their smug president, Carol Vincent, were already there. Carol looked like she stepped out of a magazine. Expensive blazer, perfect hair, radiating superiority. The judge entered, and we all rose. She got right to the point. "We're here to address the complaint filed by Thomas Miller against the Meadowbrook HOA concerning jurisdictional overreach and harassment. Let's begin." Hansen's opening argument was strong. "Your Honor, the Meadowbrook HOA has unlawfully attempted to claim jurisdiction over my client's private property. They failed to provide proper notification of their so-called boundary expansion and have engaged in repeated harassment. We intend to prove their actions are not only illegal but a blatant abuse of power." The HOA's lawyer, Derek Wilson, smirked. "Your Honor, the Meadowbrook HOA has acted in full compliance with county regulations. The boundary expansion was legally approved, and all affected property owners were notified." I felt my blood boil, but Hansen calmed me down. "Don't worry," he whispered. "We've got them." Over the next 2 hours, Hansen tore apart the HOA's claims. He showed that no certified mail was ever sent to me. The county records, which Hansen had obtained, proved it. My name and address weren't on the list of recipients. "This is a critical failure," Hansen argued. "Without proper notification, my client couldn't challenge the amendment. Their entire claim is invalid." Wilson argued that notification was implied through public postings and newsletters. Hansen held up a copy of the newsletter, a cheap flyer distributed only within Meadowbrook, and pointed out that it didn't even mention my property. "Implied notification isn't enough, Your Honor. The law requires direct notification." The judge agreed. Then Hansen showed the video of the HOA patrol trespassing on my property, along with their aggressive letters. He read aloud the letter about my barn, the one accusing me of lowering community standards. "This letter," Hansen emphasized, "is laughable. Mr. Miller's barn has been there for over a decade, long before Meadowbrook HOA existed. They have no authority." When it was Wilson's turn, he tried to change the subject. "Your Honor, the Meadowbrook HOA's actions were motivated by a desire to protect property values and maintain community harmony. Mr. Miller's refusal to cooperate forced us to escalate." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Protecting property values does not give you the right to harass or trespass. I suggest you choose your words carefully, Mr. Wilson." The HOA's case was falling apart. Hansen's final blow was showing inconsistencies in the HOA's filings with the county: mismatched dates, missing signatures, rushed approvals. "This isn't just overreach," Hansen concluded. "It's negligence and disregard for the law. My client deserves to have his property removed from their jurisdiction and compensation for the harassment." The judge called a recess. Outside, I asked Hansen, "How do you think it's going?" He grinned. "Better than I expected. They've got nothing. Just stay calm. We're almost there." When the judge returned, her verdict was swift and clear. The HOA had acted improperly. The lien was invalid. The boundary amendment was thrown out. The HOA had to pay me for legal fees and emotional distress. She turned to Carol Vincent and Wilson. "Let this serve as a reminder that organizations like yours must operate within the bounds of the law." Relief washed over me as the gavel fell. I shook Hansen's hand. "You did it, Thomas." "Thank you." He smiled. "You stood your ground, Thomas. That made all the difference." Walking out of the courthouse, I felt proud. I'd fought for what was right. The battle was tough, but I'd shown them they couldn't push me around. My ranch was my sanctuary again, and nobody would take that away. The drive home was quiet. I was relieved, but also frustrated by how close I'd come to losing my home. Back at the ranch, I looked out at my land, the fields, the barn. It wasn't just property, it was part of me. And now it was safe. I had some mail waiting. One envelope had the HOA logo. I grimaced but opened it. It was a formal acknowledgement of the court's decision, signed by Carol Vincent. I put it away, hoping that was the last I'd hear from them. Life went back to normal. No more HOA threats. I repaired fences, tended my horses, enjoyed quiet evenings on my porch. But I couldn't forget how close I'd come to losing everything, and I thought about others who might not be so lucky. One afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was Hansen. "Thomas, he said. You might want to check the local paper. They're running a story on your case. I chuckled. Didn't think my little feud would make headlines. Oh, it's more than a headline, Hansen replied. Your case has stirred things up. You're not the only one they've been harassing. I stopped for a paper on my way into town. The headline read, HOA overreach exposed. Local rancher wins legal battle. There was a photo of me standing in front of my barn, arms crossed. The article told my story and included others who'd had similar problems with the HOA. One woman near the HOA boundary had been fined thousands for violations she didn't commit. Another man had been forced to sell his property after constant legal threats. My victory was inspiring others to fight back. As I read, an idea began to form. I'd won my fight, but others were still struggling. Maybe I could help. The next week, I organized a community meeting. Word spread, and the town hall was packed. People shared their HOA horror stories. Others came to listen and learn. Hansen came too, offering legal advice. I stood at the front of the room, feeling nervous but determined. I didn't plan on fighting the Meadowbrook HOA, I said, but when they came after my land, I knew I had to fight back. And now, seeing all of you here, I realize this isn't just about me. It's about standing up for what's right, for all of us. The room erupted in applause. For the next 2 hours, people shared their experiences and discussed strategies. By the end, we'd formed a coalition to advocate for property owners' rights. We called ourselves the Independent Landowners Alliance, and they chose me as their leader. The alliance grew. We lobbied local officials for stricter HOA regulations, held workshops about property rights, and even helped people challenge unfair fines. My ranch became the unofficial headquarters for the movement. Meadowbrook HOA was under fire. Carol Vincent resigned, along with several board members. Their tactics became a cautionary tale. One evening, I sat on my porch, watching the sunset, feeling at peace. The fight had been exhausting, but it had given me a new purpose. I'd gone from a quiet rancher to a community leader. A truck pulled up. This time, it wasn't the HOA. It was Hansen, grinning. Thought I'd drop by, he said, holding up a bottle of whiskey. Figured we could toast your victory. I chuckled. You're just trying to get me drunk, so I'll hire you again. Guilty, he laughed. We poured ourselves a drink and raised a toast. To standing your ground, Hansen said. To never backing down, I replied. I felt a sense of closure. The battle was over, but I wouldn't forget the lessons learned, resilience, community, and the power of standing up for what's right. As long as I had my land, my freedom, and my principles, I knew I could handle anything.